Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Dean here today with Burn 1 today, and I'm going to be giving you guys a Shadowverse video. Today, we're going to be playing the least represented classes on the actual meta reports that I've been seeing, and that is Runecraft and Forestcraft. I think combined they have less than 6% play rate. I think it's sitting at like 1.3, 1.4% for one of the classes and like 2 point something for the other. These decks are bad. They are not actually optimized because nobody plays them. Nobody plays them at all. Myself on the left, I'm playing Dirt Rune because it seems that's what people like over Spell Boost. You know, the two people that decide to play. And then he is on Control Combo-y Forest. It's just what it is. Turn 1, I'm going to be playing on this card. It's a 1-mana spell. I was going to get Mystical Pawn, which is just a 2-1 vanilla. Literally a worse stat line than a Goblin, but it's Spell Boost. But I'm not playing Spell Boost, so... But it's searchable off of Merlin, I think, which might be the idea. So I hit him for 2, and then I don't really have much going on, so I pass. He plays down Crystallia Tia. Top check 2, add a Crystallia follower or something else to hand, and then he just passes. So let's see, I go up to 3 mana, and I'm going to be putting down the Runic Guardian, hitting him for 2, and then I remember the Runic Guardian does in fact get an Earth Sigil on play, so I'm going to have that. And he goes up to 3 as well. Crystallia Tia, actually an insane card. On Evolve, being able to bottom deck a card on my board, and then trade in. So pluses on play and bottom decks on Evolve, pretty good. Goes 2 for 1. Bottom decks any creature. And then he decides to go in with the greed play of being able to bounce back the Tia. And hopefully play it down again next turn, and then goes in with the Water Fairy. On death, being able to put a fairy into his EX area, and also has an Evolve, so... There's a little bit of pressure coming from this card. I'm struggling with the cards in my hand. Quite a few cards, but not a lot going on. This 4-mana card has 3 different effects. You choose 2 of them, unless you have 10 spells engraved, and then you choose all 3. I choose to draw a card, and then summon a Guardian Golem, which is a 2-3 with Ward. And I say, you know what? I'm not going to Ward. I'm not going to Ward. No reason to give you the free card. So I pass. Let's see how Ellis handles this with the Evo Orbs. He's definitely in a pretty good spot. He has the Fairy on board. There's quite a few plays available to him. He's looking at the Water Fairy in his Evolve deck. Doesn't, just, you know, making sure. And then we see Titania's Garden come down. It gives +1/+1 to all fairy tokens, I believe. But we're, like, buffing these things because they're fairies. I think it gives fairies direct attack, which is the ability to attack untapped creatures. So there's a little bit of confusion here about how it fully works. And then he goes for the Evolve, gets the fairy. The fairy gets the +1/+1. And he gets in for 2 damage. Okay, so we see I go up to 5. And, man, this card was so good in set 1. Not very good right now. Junko's Lab coming down, Fanfare. Able to pop an Earth Sigil in order to get a Strike Form Golem, which is a 3-2 that can trade with board. And then Junko's Lab has 3 tap effects. It either consumes an Earthright to summon either a 2-3 with Ward or a 3-2 with Rush. And then it also has tap to create an Earth Sigil. So it's kind of like your infinite value engine to be able to keep the Earthright cards running. And we're going to see the fairies come in, manage to clear the Ward. Crystallia Tia comes down after playing down 2 fairies. On play, it summons a Crystallia Eve as long as he has combo 2. And then on Evolve, I believe the Crystallia Eve gets even bigger. Crystallia Eve just being a 4/4 vanilla. And yeah, it's getting extra power, extra stats. And so now he's got quite the large board, and I'm trying to figure out what can I do with this. Hand's pretty awkward, and I don't really know what to do, so definitely taking a second here to assess the situation. I think I have a blind draw, and I also have this top check. So I say, you know what, I'm going to put down the Sammy. Sammy on play, look at top, leave it there, or put it in grave. And I'm like, you know, I'm not willing to go in on a blind draw with as many bad cards that are in the deck. And I see a pretty okay card. But I gotta think about it for a second. You know, there's only so much mana in a turn, so I say, you know what, I like that card. I want it, so I'm going to play down my Earth Sigil that on play allows me to draw. And then I'm going to use the stack mechanic that is on all Earth Sigils in order to tap it to eat all of the other Earth Sigils and then put counters on the one that's left. So that way you can cash in the counters in order to use the effects and not have the Earth Sigils eat up infinite board space. And then I was very sad about the way that I'm pretty sure this interaction works. But I think I'm forced to play this card first, which is on play, summon 2 Guardian Golems, and then Earthright to give all Guardian Golems +1/+1. Junko's Lab is going to allow me to tap, use Earthright, which means consuming an Earth Sigil to then summon a Guardian Golem. But I couldn't do it in the opposite order to get 3 buffed Golems due to the spell summoning and then using the Earthright. So I need to have the spots on board when I use the spell, not after. While Junko's Lab consumes the Earth Sigil, allowing me to, even though I have 5 cards on board, there's only 4 after paying the cost to use the Earthright. And then I ward up. I think that might be wrong. There's a lot of stats on the board, but maybe I'm not supposed to ward up here. I feel like that's a lot of pressure gone. Because currently only these fairies would be able to trade in. And now it's... He has the guaranteed clear at the cost of his own board, but, like, right, he's able to play cards after. But we see this. We see the Ding Dong come down on Evolve, pinging a card for 2. Being able to use that plus the fairies to get the nice cleanup on the board. And he still hasn't even attacked with the Eve or done anything with it. Crystalia coming down. Or, Crystal Fairy. I don't remember what this thing's actually called. He's making sure the traits are right. It's able to add Princess Aria. Pretty insane. And we see warding up. Oh, I see. He chose not to attack with the Crystalia because he doesn't really care about this 2/3. He likes the fact that he has like a 5/6 on board or something like that. Might be a 5/5. I tap Junko to get the card. And then we see Erasmus come down. Erasmus has Earthright to ping something for like 6 and deal 2 damage to the enemy leader. He's a 1-of, but then I realized that while I had to do that to deal with the Eve, this Crystal Fairy, whatever she is still on the board, threatening the evolve for the bottom deck. So we're going to see it go to Ellis's turn, and he's going to be evolving to bottom deck the Erasmus, which is a 1-of in the list, which is what I really hated about this list. And then we see Arya come down on play, getting 5 fairies. It just summons until fairies are everywhere. So he gets 5 to the EX and 3 to the board, and then all fairies other than her get Rush. So the ability to trade with board immediately, and they still have Titania's Garden. So they're 2/2s that can trade with untapped cards and can just attack as soon as they're played. Pretty big tempo swing. That's just a structure deck card. And we're going to see the Crystal Fairy taking out the Sammy. And he's going to ward up with the Arya. Shoot, my deck still has a couple tricks left, but not many. So I'm going to be using Junos in order to get the Earth Sigil to use the Earthright on, I think it's like something Alchemist. Which will then put 2 Guardian Golems into my EX area. And then evolving her for 3 mana. And then she says all golems in your EX area's costs are reduced by 1, and whenever a golem comes into play, ping anything for 3. So I have up to 6 damage to face, or anywhere I need to. So I go face with the first one. Second one, I say, you know what? No, we're not going to be going face. I'm going to be hitting your Arya, and then I'm going to be trading to kill the Arya. And I think I ward up in order to protect the Alchemist, because I have some pretty gross plays if the Alchemist lives. But we see Rose Queen coming down, and that's pretty rough. It replaces all cards in his EX area with Thorn Burst. Has an absolutely massive body. I don't remember the attack, but the defense is definitely 7. And then it has tap to regain as much mana as you have Thorn Burst in your EX area. So it's tap, regain 5 currently. He's going to be able to use that 5 mana. On this thing. I was like, wait a second, what are you going to do with this thing? Are you going to... I think he's trying to decide targets. We're discussing something. I think he says, maybe this isn't the right play. Maybe this isn't the right play. He has 5 mana to play around with only, so let's see. I think it's because he has answers without it. We see the Bellringer come down. We see the Fairy Queen come down, turning a follower with combo 2, turning any follower on the board into a fairy. And we see the greediest play that I'm like, whoa, what's going on here? Is Nature's Guidance on the Rose Queen. I'm like, wait a second, maybe you don't do that. He goes, you know, maybe you're right. Ends up trading the Crystalia. The Crystal Even, whatever it's called. Crystalia is the other one. Man, I think that's like Tia or something? No, wait. Tia is the one that summons the Eve. Bad with names. But he crashes in, just to be able to clear the board spot to play down the, I think it's like Nature's Harvest. That allows him to pay 1, tap, sack, heal 1. And then he has double wards up, which is really rough for me, because I can only deal with 1 of them. And my actual damage dealer is gone. And I have a lot of cards to deal with, because each of those Thorn Bursts is 3 damage and an extra card in hand. So we're going to see what ends up happening. I play down the card that allows me to draw, and is an Earth Sigil, and then I Junko's Juno's Lab in order to bring out the 3/2 with Rush. So I'm able to clear. At least I hope I'm able to clear. We're able to do a little bit here. It's a very rough board because of the Bellringer not being able to crash the fairy. It means it's pretty rough. It's pretty rough. But I say, you know what? You got to do what you got to do. I'm going to trade in. And my board just feels so clogged, right? I want 1 less card, and the only way for me... Because the hand is just basically completely dead. And you see I'm really struggling with what can I do. The Juno's Lab has already been used. This Bellringer is going to eat 2 damage. And I just need to put him in a position where I can actually win. Because the cards in my hand ain't going to get me there, and the Erasmus is at the bottom of the deck. So, this thing has 7 health, right? The Rose Queen has 7 health. It's threatening an extra 5 mana next turn up to. It's like, what am I going to do? So I end up having to hard evolve this card. Then on evolve is Earthright, summon a Guardian Golem. There's no Golem coming down. I got 5 cards on board. I don't have I don't have an Earth Sigil to use the Earthright. So this thing is solely because it has Rush on play. Which is going to allow me to kill the Bellringer. And then push 5 damage. Only 5. It's so sad. And then I have to pass. This hand has quite a few cards. None of them really do a ton. But he technically has 5 floating mana if he's really aggressive. Right, because he's able to use 5 mana, tap the Rose Queen, and then keep going. So he effectively has 14 mana right now, depending on how he plays it. But he goes for the Thorn Burst first to get additional cards into hand. And then we see a second Thorn Burst. Probably trying to really weigh the options, though. He should have known that the deck has no good cards. It is Forestcraft. Play 20 cards to deal an extra 2 damage is usually what it is. The Rose Queen is pretty big, though. That is... Actually, the control tools aren't that bad. They're just not good into most things. We see the Fairy Queen coming down again, turning my last card into yet another fairy. And it has Ward as well, so things are pretty rough. Then definitely thinking about what can he do still, because he's still got some mileage out of that hand and those play points. He's going to bounce back the Rose Queen. Very greedy play, but... I mean, I guess there's not a whole lot going on. I see a Fairy Circle in that hand, so, you know. That technically is a play next turn. See the Crystallia come down, putting 2 cards to the bottom. Are they good? Are they bad? Who knows? And then evolve to bottom deck the Fairy, just to BM. And then, oh, we kill the Fairy, so he's cleared the full board, and he has a card with Ward. And oh, I can't seem to find anything live, so let's see. What can I do? At least the Rose Queen is gone. I think that part's nice. It's a lot of the pressure. It means that while he could set up more next turn, he can't threaten lethal next turn, right? So I Junkos to get the Earth Sigil, and then I use the Earth Sigil pretty much immediately, as that's what the deck's supposed to do. Oh, no, we see Pascal come down. New card. On play, you add to a stack on an Earth Sigil. And then let's see, I'm going to be getting using that to get the 2 golems, and then +1/+1, so the golems are bigger. Yeah, but Pascal has quick speed, tap, give a card +2/+2, or -2/-2 for an Earthright. And I'd say I'm just going to try to ward up, be cute, use the card when he attacks, and, you know, hopefully blank his, blank one of his attacks. Because otherwise, he's presenting way too much damage, right? The 3 Thorn Burst is 9 damage. The Fairy's 3, so that's 12. 13, 14 damage currently on board. I only have 18 health, and it's not hard to imagine him getting an additional 4. So definitely have to ward up, I feel. Even though not warding up, it's like... I don't know, it's 3 cards he has to deal with, right? And the Pascal's still there to make them a little bit more annoying. So I was hoping that the board presence would be more than enough. Definitely a lot of thinking. It's a pretty tricky board, even with 10 mana. We see Rose Gardener coming down. Is it getting evolved? Nope. We're going to see Thornburst coming down to increase the combo count and draw. Thornburst to clear. Oh, nope. It doesn't actually clear. I think he forgot that these cards have +1/+1, putting them at 4 health instead of 3. So he's like, nope, I'll just use 2 on that. And then evolve, because he's now played 3 cards this turn. He's able to bounce a card back to my hand and actually deal with this. There we go. And then push 5 damage. Yeah, Rose Gardener with the combo 3, which means playing 3 cards that turn, including itself, in order to draw a card on Evolve, while also bouncing a card. So he's able to bounce the Pascal to deny me the quick effect. But I'm just going to put the Pascal back down, tick up to 2 on my Earthright. On my stack. And we see a double Pascal, because that's really all the deck has going for it right now. We go up to 3. Junko down to, or Junos down to 2. Able to deal with the Fairy, and then I'm going to use a Pascal to deal with that by giving it -2/-2 at 0 health. You know, it dies. So, and then the last thing I can do is summon this magical pawn and pass. Just hope the board doesn't get answered and hope that I don't die. Thankfully, Forest, lacking of pressure, is going to Fairy Circle into 3 fairies in the EX. And then Rose Queen comes down, turning those fairies into Thornburst. And the taps goes up to 5 mana. Has a combo count of 2. Definitely trying to figure out what to do with this hand. It's very awkward because Force has to play so many cards in order to get additional effects, and then there's a lot of control tools, but they don't really do a lot, right? It's like they don't prevent you from dying, they just kind of are a nuisance to the opponent. And then Rune is a really bad aggro deck, it feels like. I think it's supposed to be aggro, I don't know if it's supposed to be control. You put down the Pascal, it's supposed to use the effect quickly, but it's not, like, right? It's like we're seeing right now, it's just getting answered. So I have one that's untapped, and I'm like, wait a second. I think I see what line you're going for. I think you're not supposed to actually ping the Pascals. I think you're supposed to ping the pawn. And so we see that. He goes, you know what? I think you're right. We'll get rid of the pawn. Because the Roach comes down on play, it gets attack equal to the number of cards played this turn. So it gets +4 attack, putting it to 5. And then on Evolve, it chooses one of 2 effects. It either gains Storm, or it pings a card on your opponent's board for the number of attack it has. So it's able to ping the untapped Pascal for 5, killing it, and then trade into the other Pascal. So now I'm down on no cards on board. Rose Queen on his, and 9 damage from the Thorn Burst. So, you know, it's pretty rough. But I still have the Earth Sigil and the Juno's Laboratory, so I'm going to do what I can. I put down Clark, I believe is his name. And I'm reading his Evolve card. Very sad that I'm pretty sure an on-play doesn't add to the stack. It's only on death. So I'm going to have to trade it in to get my stack up to 2. And then I'm going to put down a Pascal, putting my stack up to 3. Junos, stack down to 2. Here comes the guard for, or the Golem with Rush, and it's going to trade in, and then Pascal, of course, is going to buff it to 5, and last card left is going to use the last Earth Sigil, and it gets +1/+1 and ward on play, or +2 defense and ward on play, or +1/+2, there we go. But we just see, you know, there's too many Thorn Bursts. It's going to deal 9 damage. He's only got to get a little bit left. And he's able to turn that thing into a fairy, getting rid of my ward, and then get in for game. So, yeah, definitely win for Forest at the beginning. Long games here, long games. A lot of back and forth when the decks don't really have win conditions. And I think maybe there should be more than one Erasmus. The list is pretty wonky. We see some shuffling up. And some die rolls. Okay, he rolls a 9 and I roll a 4. So he's able to choose who goes first, who goes second. My hand was garbage. And he says, you know what? You're going second. Here you go. We see he starts with the Harvest, which is going to be able to just kind of sack itself to heal 1. It's a pretty mediocre card, but we're going to see the Bellringer come down. And I'm pretty happy because I opened with, I don't remember any of the Earth Sigils from like the OG game, but it summons the Golem to be able to kill the Bellringer before they evolve, and also deny impossible combos. But we see he has the Water Fairy, and then he puts down Titania's Garden, which will give his tokens +1/+1. Making the fairy a little more obnoxious. But I look at my hand, and I'm like, you know what? I think I have double Merlin in it. Yeah, double Merlin. It's a lot of pressure. So I put down Merlin. I'm going to get to search any spell in our deck. And, of course, I take Demonic Strike, because, you know, Merlin on Evolve copies any 3-mana spell in your grave. So the hope is to be able to use Demonic Strike, evolve Merlin, and then Demonic Strike a second time. And then I just swing for 3. I realize that I'm supposed to be playing as aggressively as humanly possible. Whatever that means for this deck, it's not very aggressive, even with everything. We see the fairy hidden for 1. Ancient Elf on play, bounce back a follower, get +1/+1, play back down the fairy, and then evolve the elf. And then on evolve, bouncing a creature to get +1/+1. So it becomes a 5/5 or 5/6, I don't know. Pretty big. 5/5s, because then it trades in, goes down to 5/2. And I say Demonic Strike for 3. Merlin, evolve, copy the Demonic Strike. And then we end up fixing this. Because he's like, wait, why did you do that? And I'm like, oh, I think you're right. Maybe, just maybe. I don't, I Demonic Strike the creature with 2 health and then swing in for 4 instead of 3. So definitely fixing a pretty big mistake if it was done in an actual tournament. We do record these pretty late at night, so sometimes things slip us. And man, after that first game, it was pretty rough. That first game was pretty long. We see top check 2, take neither. And then Eve, bottom deck the Merlin, which I think I'm fine with. Because I just have another one. Searching any spell. Yet again. I'm going to be searching out the Golem's Protection or whatever. Merlin's a good card. I feel like Rune, next expansion, maybe Copium, maybe, just maybe, Rune can get good. I know they're getting Oz. We see Merlin copying the Demonic Strike to get an additional 3 damage. I'm just going to leave the 4/3 on the board. Hoping it magically doesn't get answered. But we see he has answers for days in his hand. Yep. The crystal comes down. He keeps whiffing the top 2 because it only adds like a couple traits that aren't very prevalent. And then the evolve comes, bottom decking yet another Merlin. And then gets in for 3 damage on this turn. And now I get to tick up. Definitely thinking a lot about my plays. This is edited, by the way. This is 2 times speed and edited. I know this is a very long video. Man, these were long games. Sammy comes down on play, scries. I just want to mill the top card of my deck, and then on evolve, both players draw. But I know I need cards in hand. I need cards in hand that are good, and they'll help me seal the game. Put this down, using up the Earth Sigil from earlier in the game to get 2, 3, 4s, and then I use. Do I use the Sammy at all, or do I just pass? Do I just pass with this board? Just pass. I say, you know what? You got to deal with them. You got to find a way to deal with these cards. We see that come in play. Draw. Pay 1 sack, heal. Combos at 1. It is infinite, the bottom deck card. I guess it finds itself. See, he pokes for 2, pokes for 2, pokes for 1. Now what? One, 2, both dead. It looked like they're both the bounce back spell, so. And then on evolve, he's able to bottom deck a card, which he's gonna bottom deck the Sammy. Interesting. Probably should have went for the token. There's a fun fact, if you bottom deck the token, it just kind of like dies, disappears forever. So we see here, I'm coming in, whop, draw on plate. Play another one, draw. Looking for that lethal, not quite there. I'm able to tap, sack. I think it's the first time he actually like realized what the stack mechanic was. Or this thing should technically be tapped because I can't do it twice on the same one. If I put down another one, I would have to get rid of the one with the 2. And I think what's absurd about the mechanic in this one is if I play down another one and tap it to get rid of this one, I think it's just gone. So we see Demon Fire Mage or something like that come down on Evolve, dealing 2 damage to the entire enemy board, which actually doesn't deal with much. Look at his board. And I decide I'll just kill one of these, get rid of it. I'm only at 11 health. I'm fine with you not having that, but I do need to be pushing my advantage, so take that 6. And you know what? I'm going to take my pawn. My literally worse than a goblin card. The pawns in digital have rush. Maybe that would be a little too insane with how removal works in this game, but man, 2-1 in this is pretty bad. 2-1 vanilla is pretty bad. I mean, they didn't even put in the 2-2 vanilla from, like, the OG set, so we don't have golems. Why do we have this pawn? Unless we're going to get the chess deck soon. That would be pretty cool. We see Roach coming down. Boom, bounce back Roach. However, the first Roach didn't have Storm, so it's not as good as it used to be. That was just the lowest cost card in his hand, and now he has combo 2. Putting down the Fairy Queen in order to place a card on my board with a fairy. Goes with the Demon Flame Mage. Then he evolves the Ancient Elf. Oh, he's realizing he's already evolved the Ancient Elf. Maybe that's not the play. Maybe that is not the play. Here comes down a fairy. Double ward. He's all in on this. And I've only got to deal 3 damage. I've got to get through these 2 wards, though. I've got to have something in hand. I'm like, man, this fairy is just kind of rotting here. Let's, you know, trade it in. Get rid of that 1 extra health he got on that Ancient Elf. Juno's Lab coming down, using a stack in order to get the 3-2 with Rush. 3-2 with Rush clears the fairy. Then I tap it, sack it. Earthright gets another one. Able to clear those. And then get in for 3 with the LaPlus. Boom! And that's it. So, we ended up going 1-1. It seems to be how most of these videos are. But that's it for this one. Join us again next time. Hopefully we give you guys faster decks, better decks. And until then, this is Dean signing out.